How about now?
Check
How
it,
about
check it,
now?
check it.
How about now?
Testing 1, 2, no sound.
Hold on, give it a minute.
We're good, folks. We're good. Hey, we just got so excited getting in the studio.
No, something didn't activate, but everything was on. But now it is for sure. I had to reset.
Well,
is that working?
We're good to go. Welcome.
If you could hear, do a little one on the comms. Has it been no sound since the beginning?
We feel so amateurish.
Wow.
We apologize, you guys. Hey.
Let's start this all over again. Welcome to the Patriot Hour.
Yes.
Hump day, pump day.
Pump the volume. No, we were saying earlier, Mike and I were doing some IT work and some garage talk, and so I was able to get in the studio today. So very excited to be here. Mike and I were kind of reminiscing. We were talking about the correlation of how, obviously they take old movies, remake them, all other kind of good BS, but we had recently watched Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater.
Christian Slater.
And some of the similarities between what he was doing in the old Patriot Hour show.
Yeah, we were saying that we recently just kind of rewatched that. Came up into, I think, my head, and I watched it first. Was talking about, I'm gonna take a look at that. So we watched it, and yeah, movie from like 91 or 92. Dude has a little pirate radio down in his basement at his parents' house, and goes on every night at 10 p.m. And
he says whatever he wants. It's all about freedom of speech, and he gets a little
talk hard. That's what he
So it's interesting though, but yeah, it really delves over the freedom of speech and saying things, and people actually trying to connect and communicate, but breaking all the quote-unquote emotional...
yeah. Now, that movie took a little turn when he had a caller call in and talk about... Or a letter. Because people... That's another thing. He had like a P.O. box.
Yep.
He did his show. He had... this is crazy. But yeah, somebody wrote in about wanting to suicide, kill themselves. And he kind of took it... How do you think he took that little... didn't really... He was upset that he never told him not to do it. He kind of made fun. Or, what, do you got a letter? You
got a letter? Yeah. Well, I
hate when people do this and don't leave a letter behind.
Well, I think it's interesting. He's trying, I guess, his character. I mean, Mike and I are not like really trying to delve into breakdown movies, but it's just
Siskel and Ebert here.
Yeah,
folks.
yeah. His character plays a senior in high school. I don't know what year, but yeah, I know some guy writes in about killing himself, and he tries to play it off as a joke, Mr. Serious. And he calls the guy
Happy Hard On.
Yeah, so it's like it's just interesting. It kind of shows the even back then, people calling in, people talking, wanting to share their what's going on and how they're trying to fight the system, or talking back, and them not liking their teachers and their counselors at the school, and it was a way for the kids. And there's all kinds of good stuff in there. But the idea that this guy was able to take a little bit of shortwave radio technology and be able to communicate to those around him, because he couldn't really communicate on a normal social basis. But I mean, the idea though was just communication and free speech.
Yes.
And how just because your speech offends one person, and you hear what he's saying, I'm offended.
Doesn't
we need to call the cops.
Yes.
The cops like, well, I don't know what laws are being broken. Well, he's saying things we don't like, and he's instigating, he's creating. What do they say? I think they even called for a call to action or something like that. And it was like, well, that's just wrong. And it just showed how quickly, when there's dissidence at all in a society, it's quickly squashed at any means. And I thought, and of course, Hollywood puts their spin on it, of course. But
the premise of free speech back then, or what he was trying to do, still plays out. And we were talking about how that leads into Bill Cooper in the... one of the most moving one was the Lansing, Michigan speech, where he's up on stage for a good hour and a half. And at the end of that, he goes into, you can own your own. Get a little satellite, these little uplinks. I do it. You can do it. Costs you a little bit of money in the beginning, but he was wanting everyone to, do what he was doing. And, now we got the power of what we're using, internet, media, YouTube, other platforms that do this. So...
It was just an interesting correlation.
Yes,
and that's how it parted out. So I mean, and you could take that. I mean, on other, and we'll delve into some other topics today as well. But I just thought it was an interesting little lighthearted kind of something to.
But that's true. The whole freedom of speech, folks. We don't want to go down these. How do you combat a false narrative or a good lie is just with some truth. And we want to be able to always have that debate. You don't want to go down these roads of where people are like, I'm offended, so we need to, it's kind of like these laws or things that are set up out there now. Certain people have beliefs. They try to live by them and apply them into their daily life as they go out and about, and other people are offended by those people's beliefs, whether it be like a cake store or whatever, right? We're seeing that unfold in real time out in the world, and this is just one scenario. There's others we can go into, but we'll keep it on that cake shop that doesn't want to maybe perhaps do the cake for the gay man or whatnot, folks. And so these people are combating that in the courts. Sometimes they're winning. This person was offended that sometimes they seek out on purpose, we know, to go to the one that won't do it, to create this issue in the forefront of the media to help their cause. And but if you have one person that starts out by being offended that this person won't do the cake, or it's somehow against the laws, they win. And now you end up with the other person being offended by what they believe in and having to possibly do something that they didn't want to do. So it's always these social
It's an evil cycle, because if you, and that's where, where Mike and I always stand firm in the law, because the law is not, it shouldn't be. Now, yes, we can argue all day long about states have passed laws that are biased to if you're a boy or a girl, because I believe there's only boy or girls, or if you're this, or if you're that. But on a greater scale, to start passing laws based on feelings will never work.
Yeah.
Because your feelings are, well, so who does the law cater to? Your feelings are mine. Your religion are mine. And so that's where you get down a real slippery slope.
And then some people will say, well, that would go off the majority or of people that maybe feel a certain way. But then we're like, no, because we saw under the Obama administration, it was the minorities getting things on top of the majority.
Exactly, we saw a flip flop.
So,
and even that statement is very well thrown around when you talk about how people say, "Oh, well, it's the majority of rule." And in most aspects, if you had a civilized society, which we consider ourselves to be now, a lot of things, yes, that does are part and parcel with, not killing, not stealing. Things that we hold basic no matter who you are, you hold like, okay, this is pretty good things not to do. But when you start twisting that to where it's like you base laws off emotion, you just start getting to where there was used to think called mob rule.
Yes.
And we know very well that individuals in any type of situation are, for the most part, fairly intelligent. But the second they become mob rule, we've seen that. And I'm not talking about the most recent propaganda, false flag, Smollett cases where they talk about mob. I'm talking like, we're talking back in late 1800s, early 1900s, where you really had the rule of the mob. And that wasn't too civilized. And so that's why we have a jury of your peers, due process. We have habeas corpus. I mean, these are the things that we have in place that are not biased to man, woman, what you're black, white, red, yellow, green, blue, and everything in between. So this is where you got to lay on and pretty much have your foundation. So there's always kind of fun similarities we try to assess and pull to. Pump up the volume, obviously being one of them. But it's just interesting. And like Mike and I, we're always acutely aware of this kind of stuff, even when we try to turn our brains off to just to watch a movie that we know has,
Whoops. That nobody heard that but us.
Yeah.
Lori changed a little subject here. I was just seeing this headline. Lori Laughlin's a little upset. People are calling her a cheater. What do you think of that, Ben?
Cheater, pumpkin eater. Well, what happens? There was no cuts, no butts, no coconuts, and so a cheater's a cheater. Dirty skeeter.
So her and her husband idiotically turned down a plea bargain, right? Idiotically turned down a plea bargain because they thought that the district attorney was bluffing. Dumbest move ever. Oh, and now her daughter is under criminal investigation, or both of the daughters. So that's interesting. I'm glad. Actually, this is the article I'm reading here, folks. In the very least, their daughters were complicit. Let's be real here. These are 18, 19-year-old young adults, right? So, however, we need to stop talking so bad about our family's actions. She's outraged that society is calling them out for being dirty, rotten cheaters. Outraged, I say.
You dirty.
So, again, this is Lori Loughlin, folks, from Fuller House, the new one. College scandal, cheating, privy, kids.
And it's sickening because it's like, you know, people like you and I, Mike, who we worked.
Are they cheaters? Would you? Is that calling the?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the bottom line is, well, when we were in school, could we do anything to get past the admission boards and get that piece of paper? Everything we did, right? I mean, it didn't matter if we had all the money in the world to pay for the classes and the books and all the extra courses. So they had to go above and beyond and be like, I'm going to give you, that's bribery. Is what it basically is.
Yes.
Collusion, conspiracy.
Not playing by the rules. It's real simplistic, folks. This comes down to this is how some people feel. So, for example, the other actress, now maybe whether or not she was told by everyone around her, her support system, her lawyers, or husband, or significant other, if she's even married, I don't know, Felicity Hoffman, whatever, played in Desperate Housewives. She came out with 12 other no-name parents. I'm not saying they're average folks, but the other people that got caught cheating, maybe they're just not famous. She pled guilty with them at the lower level, didn't get that extra federal charge, and she came out with a statement to the media like, I know what I did was wrong. It screwed over lots of people that had kids that were probably, I mean, at least said all the right things. Well, that you know. It's like, okay, whether, again, this is somebody wrote it for her and she's reading like she does in all her movies and TV shows, but at least she went through the motion. And
well, we know either she didn't, she's not up to date on some of her, you know, handler requirements. Because let's be honest, we both know this has gone on for thousands of years. Okay, let's just drop all the, like, oh my gosh, they did this cheating. There's certain schools, Yale, Harvard, we've talked about the secret societies. These people have billions of dollars. Their children, they send them to very specific schools, and they pay very large amounts of money. And you're there not only to get trained.
You're not going to get your secret society, ancient mystery school teachings if you don't go to
these
Yale
these different societies. And so what's happening is you're seeing the higher oligarchy, you know, these people, the elites, they're not going to get caught up in these scandals, Yale, this kind of stuff. What's happening is you get in the Hollywood bunch, and they're not keeping up. They're doing their things. They're thinking they're free to say they're doing what they want to do, but we're finding out that's not really the case. And this is the dirt, people. This is the dirt the deep state has. This is just like surface dust. Really, what we're talking about was paying for college, low-level colleges. Some of these colleges, I mean, are we talking about Ivy League elite schools where it's almost 7 to 8 figures just for the tuition for a normal person? Not talking the super elite to be paying off these people and having dirt and this and that. I mean, you know, it's like, how deep does this go? And it's like, well, this happens for a long, long time, and you'll see what's coming out. Either they're slipping up or
trained for what? Compromise. They learn in these, you know, these movers and shakers, folks, when they get their kids into these and they get put into the secret societies at the Yale and they're part of these brotherhoods or whatever you want to call them. They're learning things, and then they end up going on and getting positions in the real world that dictate, you know, there's that in between the people that run companies, the mover and shakers.
Statistically speaking, if you just want to run the numbers, if you have a Yale, Harvard, or Oxford, and there's a couple other degrees, you could be, it doesn't matter, the dumbest person in the world. If you just have a few degree pieces of paper, you will automatically get some type of upper echelon job at some type of corporation.
If you have an Ivy League degree,
that's just how it is. That's how this is set up.
It's like Notre Dame degree, Purdue. Some of these are just, but you're talking about Yale, Harvard, Stanford. You're gonna just automatically, doors are gonna be opened for you. All right,
that's how it's set up exactly. So there's why there's certain tuitions and why there's these private universities and schools. Now they talk about what training. Well, Mike and I have always we're self-taught and all this kind of stuff, which is the best way to be, because that's when you know you can see both sides, 3 sides, all the sides. But like the Federal Reserve, just for an example, we both know it's fiat currency, it's based on debt. So the classical training that we don't receive in school, that these Ivy Leagues receive, they understand how the financial system truly works. They understand, and then they don't teach what they teach you different accounting and CPAing and Yale than they do at Purdue or at Notre Dame or at what are the other colleges. Well, yes, they do.
Yes.
They have it layered as classical. We're going to be doing a Roman this and this kind of stuff, and you learn this is how our society is set up. And so above and beyond just getting your basic, let's just say Yale or these Ivy League educations, there are also secret societies that we're all much so aware of. What we call them fraternities, these kind of things, however we want to label them. And through these, well, it's a way to network. Well, who are in these fraternities? Well, it just so happens to be presidents and, multi-billion-dollar company owners and movers and shakers. And this is just like anything. If you go to your local golf course and you become of that golf club and you're there and all the times, well, it tends to be the people who are in that club. That's just how it works. So when you have people coming out at these levels, and they're paying for this, this is almost cannon fodder, but it's showing you yet one of their many, many tools they do to prop up these plastic individuals. We have this idea that the people in Hollywood are smarter than us. They're definitely richer than us, of course, because they've sold their soul. We have this idea that we've placed them on like a godhood. In reality, they're just these little plastic shells being propped up with fake degrees. So we think that what they say means more because we're a society, if you have
That's
letters,
why a lot of times it doesn't make sense what these people say, and you're sitting there like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's
like that doesn't make sense at all. Go ahead and read this headline up here, Ben.
Bernie tries to explain difference between his democratic socialism and communism. It doesn't go well.
So I'm just going to play this on the do this here. Full screen for you. There you go.
You guys are awesome, by the way.
An objective investigation done by the House. All right, next question.
Samantha Frankel-Popple. Samantha is a sophomore at Harvard studying social studies from California. I have a sneaking suspicion I didn't say your name right. Did I get it right?
It's Frankel Popel, but it's okay.
Frankel
Not even
Popel.
close to what I said. No.
But you got
Samantha
Samantha
right.
right.
I did. I got that right.
A
Good.
lifetime of it. It's
What's your
okay.
question?
Hi, Senator Sanders. So my father's family left Soviet Russia in 1979, fleeing from some of the very same socialist policies that you seem eager to implement in this country. So my question is, how do you rectify your notion of democratic socialism with the failures of socialism in nearly every country that has tried it?
And do you think that...
Yes.
Come on, man.
Thank you for asking that question. Is it your assumption that I supported or believe in authoritarian communism that existed in the Soviet Union? I don't. I never have, and I opposed it. I believe in a vigorous democracy. But you have asked me the question about democratic socialism. Fair question. And let me answer it. I happen to believe that in the United States, there is something fundamentally wrong when we have three families owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, 160 million people. Something wrong when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%. Something very wrong when 49% of all new income today is going to the top 1%.
Those numbers
and something
fluctuate
is equally wrong when we have a corrupt political system made even worse by this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, which allows billionaires to spend unlimited sums of money to elect candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful. So answer number one to your question. This is a radical idea. Maybe not everybody agrees, but I happen to believe we should have a government that represents working families and not just the 1% and powerful corporations.
How about all the people?
That's point number one.
Well, I don't like what you say. That's a bad point. It's we the people, not just some people.
Point number two. What do I mean when I talk about democratic socialism? It certainly is not the authoritarian communism that existed in the
Not
Soviet
that
Union.
version.
Not that
and in other
version.
communist
Our
countries. This is
panel
what
won't
it
do
means.
that, we promise.
It means that we cherish, among other things, our Bill of Rights. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt made this point. Chris, I don't know if you remember, read
the
about it,
Constitution?
1944, in a State of the Union address that never got a whole lot of attention. This is what he said, basically. It was a very profound speech toward the end of World War II. He said, you know, we got a great Constitution. Bill of Rights protects your freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, and all that stuff.
Don't you say
great.
but.
But you know what it doesn't protect? It doesn't protect and guarantee you economic rights.
That's right, it doesn't.
So, Samantha, let me be very honest with you. I believe that in a democratic, civilized society, health care is a human right. Government should make that happen.
No. I can't look at his jowls. Look at that.
I believe that every young person in this country, regardless of his or her income, has the right to get all of the education
They love it 'cause they
need.
don't know about
That's
it.
why I have fought hard with some success.
Fought hard.
Do you see
to
how
move toward
every
making
education they
public
need?
colleges and
Who deems how
universities
much they need?
tuition free and very substantially reduce student debt.
That's you know what? Now we're K through.
He's
And
having
I
a hard
believe
time
that
explaining
there is
this.
something wrong
He is.
in
Look
America
at him.
today when you got millions of families paying 40, 50, 60% of their limited incomes
That's
to
not
put
true.
a roof over their heads. And that millions
He's
of
a millionaire.
working-class families, young parents, cannot find quality and affordable childcare. So I happen to believe that we have to
What?
address
Quality and
the
whose
issue
standards?
of grotesque levels of income and wealth inequality. Very, very rich, getting much richer. Middle class struggling.
We're all
40
getting
million
much
people
richer.
living in poverty.
He's not looking
and what
at the
democratic
GDP
socialism
numbers.
means to me is we expand Medicare, we provide educational opportunity to all Americans, we rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. In other words, government serves the needs of all people rather than just wealthy
see how he
campaign
switched it there from the
contributors.
beginning?
That's what that means to me.
You were asked
see,
earlier on,
Woo!
as a quick follow on this. What do
Long-winded
you feel differently about now?
statement there. Long-winded. Hubba
Let me tell you something. Here, it's funny, people. The bottom line is this: when he talks about all of these things, who dictates what these things and who gets these programs? Is it what people, the 1%? Well, the 1% fluctuates literally on a monthly and quarterly basis. People fall in and out of that monthly basis. And not only that, let's just be honest now. I believe the last 3 years economically we have grown historical leaps and bounds.
Yeah, look at this one of Sanders.
That guy just can't get it, and that's the whole thing in Russia and all this kind of Stalin. All these, that was the whole pitch: universal this, universal that. He's talking about universal college for everybody. You know what what he's really telling you? You're now going to have a PhD or a doctorate just to get what you used to be able to get with an associate's degree. Think about that. Because everybody's going to have a bachelor's. Everybody's going to have a master's. Oh, you want to go to grad school and really get on there and get your, possibly master's and maybe look at your PhD, doctorate, depending which way you're going to go. I mean, who knows? So you have to become a doctor or a PhD holding dissertation with way clout invested before you could even get to flipping a burger. Think about it, because everybody's going to have one.
Dang, look at this. Be careful here on this one. But this Sandy Hook on DC Dirty Laundry. The curious case of the Danbury Hospital's premature Facebook message 48 minutes before police received the 911 call.
Oh, is this just more evidence that it's falling apart? They couldn't. This was a proper executed mission of a black false flag.
Let me see here.
So the Facebook message, 48 minutes before police received the 911, not like 10 minutes, not 8 minutes. I could safely say closer to almost an hour. And we're all about timestamps around here. We understand what posts come and who's posting what at what time. That's a no-brainer.
So let me, we'll see it. We'll read a bit of this. The post was first published more than a year ago, but it warrants a republishing because the San Francisco-based archive.org refuses to archive the post. There are so many oddities and and what is that?
Anomalies
about the mass shooting at Sandy Hook on the morning of December 14th, 2012 in Newton, Connecticut, in which we are told first 20 first grade students and 6 adults were killed. The authorities have not made even the slightest effort to address those anomalies, nor the corporate media shown even the slightest curiosity in investigating these oddities. It is about one of those oddities, the fact that the Danbury Hospital posted on its Facebook page a message of sympathy about the shooting and an offer to assist 48 minutes before the Newton police received the 911 call about shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary. Danbury Hospital in Danbury, Connecticut is nearest hospital to Newton, just 12 miles down the road from the high school or the school. So let's look at this timeline here. Let me pull this up for the people because they're not seeing it. This is crazy, to say the least.
So, I mean, and you know how this is not main. This won't be mainstream. This won't be televised. But by the way, people, and of course, look this source up for yourself or shown it here. You already know the.
What's that timeline? What's that telling us?
It says, so at 9:35, first 911 call to Newton Police Department is received. 9:36, Newton Police Department dispatch broadcast. So pretty much starting at 9:35, 9:36, police were called. Dispatch broadcast, there's a shooting at Sandy Hook. So it goes all the way up.
Active shooter at 9:37.
By 9:42, Newton officer calls out license plate of the shooter's car. So we're talking in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes.
They entered the school at 9:44.
9:46, Connecticut State Police enter Sandy Hook Elementary School. So at 9:46,
State Police get on scene, and then they enter the building at 9:46. So now here, yeah.
At approximately about the same time on December 14th at 8:47, more than 48 minutes before, police at 9:35 received the first known call from She's Danbury Hospital, posted the message on Facebook. And here's what it says. We are here to care for any victims and their families in any way that needs us. Our hearts and prayers are extended to anyone involved in this terrible tragedy. To date, 3 patients have been transported to Danbury Hospital from the scene. Out of abundance of caution, not because of any district threat to Danbury Hospital is under lockdown. This allows simply to focus on the important work at hand. We will keep you apprised of any additional information as details are confirmed. So wait a minute. They already said that they have to date 3 patients been transported already to the hospital from the scene. Not just like, hey, if we need any help. They're already claiming 3 people are already there.
And there's the original.
There's your proof right there.
December 14th, 2012 at 8:47 a.m. 40 some minutes. We are here.
Wow.
Here's a screenshot of the
Hallbig's email to be FMOT February. Man, that's crazy. So on just that premise, you have to ask the question, or you ask yourself the question, obviously, did somebody already know about the particular situation that was going to happen or unfold? And the answer would obviously be emphatically yes.
Well, it's just like the 9/11 when Condoleezza Rice, so that she had made a phone call the day before telling somebody like to not get on planes. It was like the buzz going around DC or the elites, people that are players, but not, everything's compartmentalized.
The people who have classical training, who've been to the certain schools and that kind of stuff.
If you worked with somebody on some dirt job on something, doesn't mean you're going to know about the next dirt job. How about the CIA guy in his deathbed that talked about wiring Building 7, the 3rd building that fell on September, and he's like, I never knew. I always did work outside of the country and wired up other bridges, but I was finally tasked with doing this. And and then on that day, he saw everything unfold. He never got the whole.
Never got until it's happening in front of it. We're all watching.
Yeah, he's seeing like, well, this is weird, and then right away it might not. Well, I know I did that building. It's pretty close to there, and then that happens going down at 5 p.m. that night. And you're kind of like, whoa, that was my work.
And you have other explosive experts like, oh, that's Bill's work down there. He likes to kind of slice him on the angle because he got that down. I mean, so just logically putting 2 and 2 together, it's quite obvious that somebody at the hospital was putting something as a because if the local hospital tweets something or puts it on their Facebook, that has a lot more clout investing than some Joe Smith who's I'm here on scene, come check out what I've been looking at. The hospital says something. Therefore, news channels, other people are going to be using these tweets and these Facebook. Oh, by the way, the local hospital already received. We get them. They're going to be using it as more. First, you have to generate the propaganda tools. Then you got to use the tools and see how the tools disseminate. I mean, it's a whole process. And I think Fritz Springmeier wrote us through that kind of the process. That, and of course. Barry, was it Bismanoff? Who was that KGB defector agent who came over and basically taught us how saying words like socialism and communism and things like that, and how they actually go to subvert. Yuri Bezmenov. Another good guy to get into. He talks about basically how to subvert a nation. And it's not with a single bullet, but mostly with words. And it's working very well.
There's a report saying Building 7 fell with it standing behind her. Yeah, they were ahead on that one when Building 7 fell. Remember, the one reporter was 30 minutes ahead. So, folks, it's hard when you go around lying and you got a coordinated effort lying. People are trigger happy. They make errors because it's not a natural flow of it doesn't. It's a lie.
It's not organic. Does it feel organic? Yes, it's an idea being pushed and. Unfortunately, it takes years later of people like you guys out there, Mike and I, sifting through all this information, putting 2 and 2 together, watching videos from the early 90s and oh my gosh. But
that was out in the forefront on that,
I just see the cognitive dissonance that we're a part of today is crazy.
We're going to take just literally, folks, about a 5-minute. I got to use the restroom and get something to drink. Coffee's gone. I need something to wet my whistle. So give us like 3 to 5 minutes at the most. We'll be right back. Check this out. I played it in the beginning, played it again just for something because it's about 4 minutes long.
Fool me once. Shame on. Shame on. Shame on you. Shame on you. Fool me, take that ball again. Take that ball again.
All right, we're back.
Oh my gosh, we're trying to do the run.
We're running
up here. Oh, it's for the people. It's for you guys. Woo.
What am I hearing here? What am I not hearing here?
Put this down here. Nice. No, I agree, Amy. The people are being so dumbed down they don't even know what gender are anymore. I agree.
Yes. There's science behind this, folks. There really is. The left likes to use science a lot until it
defeats their propaganda. Now, I like science with a little s, not the science with the big God S, like it's God science, like that is God. Yeah, no, it's... The dumbing down of our society has been happening for a long, long time, and it's not. It's been planned. It's been planned well.
So he's like, "Wow, you really did have to pee, folks. I had to use the restroom, get a drink.
I mean,
let the dog out.
This is live, baby, live."
Yes, do a little perimeter check. There's things that have to happen.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
All right.
But no, by the way, you guys,
we're gonna go another 10 minutes here real quick, by the way, and then shut it down, and we're gonna come back at about noon or so, just roughly take about a 30-minute. I got somebody stopping by.
Oh my gosh, all kinds of stuff.
Got stuff going on, and then we're gonna have Woodman maybe joining in, so we'll have a Woodman on the panel, and maybe, just maybe, we'll, if we can pull it off, have a beam in call in. I know it doesn't work out real well. Somebody that's got a really good connection.
We'll see if Woodmain is up and
Woodmain.
Going. He's moving and grooving. And
little wood grain.
So, and of course, you know, lots of love to you guys, man. It's a lot of fun on this Wednesday to be able to get in the studio, even though we got a lot of stuff happening here. Man, team's rocking and rolling, some good stuff happening. Of course, we're getting excited about the weather changing, making us even more anxious about seeing these sealed indictments becoming unsealed, and nice clinky bracelets, taking them to old Gitmo.
Little Gitmo.
Some getting Mo inmates.
Gitmo. Let me see here. I went over one yesterday. It was pretty good. Little restored pub.
Yeah, it's hilarious to try to listen to these people try to promote socialism, because the second you start hearing any of these words, it describes one outcome, and that and it's so hilarious that young lady whose parents migrated from Russia literally destroyed his whole burning his whole platform in just a simple question, because you can only answer it one way logically. You see the kind of word kung fu porn he was trying to use.
Oh yeah,
we need health care for all.
And
we need education for all. Yes, education. You know, he's straining to see what his handlers have told him to say, because it's like, the socialism means, remember, we're all kings and queens.
That's right.
And you take that away, and you ain't nothing but a slave.
I'm gonna read a little bit of this. Tell me what you guys think. I did a video on it yesterday. But the United States is witnessing history as a corrupt network of deep state career officials have been actively working against President Donald Trump and the interest of all of the American people. During the 2016 elections, this network of people, alongside politicians, Hillary Clinton's campaign, and foreign government officials, helped create the false narrative that Trump colluded with Russia. The goal was to first prevent him from becoming president, and then after that failed, to just undermine it as much as possible. These people have been the source of the creation of the fake Russia collusion narrative, unauthorized leaks, and calls for impeachment, as sowed chaos, turned Americans against one another, and rallied a base of public support through disinformation and emotional agitation. This Spygate scandal involved the Obama administration using the powers of spy agencies and corrupt legal systems to surveil a political opponent in an attempt to alter the outcome of an election. The spying on the Trump campaign involved some of Obama's top officials, such as National Security Advisor Susan Rice and CIA Director John Brennan. What do we think about this? I mean, meanwhile, key players in the Clinton team and the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, were involved in creating the disinformation and spreading this throughout a network in the U.S. government and in legacy news outlets. Yet the attempts have so far failed. Instead, they have gathered together all the corrupt elements in the U.S. intelligence agencies, the Justice Department, the State Department, city governments, and Senate, Congress, judiciary, nonprofits, legacy news outlets, and private companies. Spygate and the Trump-Russia conspiracy helped create, expose this full corrupt network, and each person involved. It has gathered together in one place the major figures of corruption in the U.S. government. And the number of officials involved is not small. While key officials in the Obama administration played crucial roles in instigating and executing the investigations into the Trump campaign, officials across the government appear to have been involved.
So, I mean, you just stop and think about that very same thing. Just saying that, right? That's a small little statement is so powerful for the fact that that means that you took somebody who took away America's ability to have a fair, non-biased rule of law and used basically our federal government and the powers that be through whatever coercion because of your position as a president.
Organized mafia levels at the highest levels.
And we've even talked about that a couple of days ago in Garage Talk when the very onset of this whole crazy Q movement, but pretty much after a few months after Trump got into office, we started seeing a swath, dare I say, of CEOs, politicians, senators, governors,
people in the CIA. Those really smart guys actually that kind of knew what they were doing, but they would all relied on, well, we have like
the patsies.
It's kind of like you have this president that's president now, and we'll just say it, Obama at the time, and a directive came down to some of these players, and they kind of like, man, this is rude. We better hope to gosh we win,
dicey.
And they were doing it, and then when they lost, that just made them, and people are like, oh, they're gonna spin this, and we're gonna kind of create this. You guys do whatever. I'm out of here.
Yeah, you don't even understand. This is if I don't leave now, I could be.
That's why some of these key intelligence officials that were doing things left, folks. You can see it, and then after that, it, like you said, it trickled down to these heads of places that.
And the people who stayed were either too dumb to get out while they could, or they were too deep in it because of threats and the dirt and this and that, and so. I've had conversations with people and they're asking like, well, it is quite interesting. People are lots of there's something's happening in Washington and people are quitting, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, your whole life you're a senator or you're a congressman, and you just give up your pension, everything just quietly go away. It's like, wait a minute, that's the exact opposite of what everybody does when they get there.
These people do not leave. They fight to stay. They cut deals to stay. They screw over their home state to stay. They don't just, I'm going to go, do this. So, yeah, there's definitely... So this little article brought that to my attention of like, yes, you have all these people now in kind of one little facet. You're going to be able to take them down all over this. Even though they've done all these other things, you're going to be able to tie them in on this, which will lead possibly, if they're able to comb through Trump's life, and then people are calling to go back to his 1978 taxes, and they want to. So, fine. It's all going to come out for him, but then it's going to be the same on everyone else that, once that intelligence got turned on you for the things that you did here, we're going to be able to go backwards. And
now it's got to be equality if this is how it's going to be. And then that's a problem because it's like...
It's a funny thing. It's just like we know everything's computerized, and it's like with these people when they come knocking on your door like, where were you last Tuesday? Most of the time, if you've seen enough shows and movies and CSIs, and they already know that information, but for some reason they like to come to you to, and that's just
dumb.
Icing on the cake to get you to lie. It's like, you already know. Is he going to admit it? So we get him to admit it, because once he says I'll admit it, I'm going to get a tape recorder. All right, say it into the tape recorder. Well, we got a testimony.
Now it's rock solid.
Sign this, say it in here. But it's hilarious because they still leave it. It's just like taxes, everything, they know what you make, paperwork's filed, you get a copy of your W-2, then the one goes off to them, but they leave it up to you and to file, and then, oh, you didn't pay enough. And it's like, well, how much do I owe? Well, you need to figure that out.
Yeah.
But they keep And if you don't figure it out right, then they come back at you anyway. So they already know it. So why don't they just give you a bill of what you owe? Why do they play this game of you go file? Mm-hmm. And if it all comes back to match up with what we got over here, it's like they leave it dumb.
Well, but because the taxes we pay to the IRS it has to be a
voluntarily
voluntary. Yeah, because you're not supposed to be paying the IRS, but we voluntarily pay without getting.
So they can't send you the bill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. This is we know how
because they know, folks. They know exactly what you owe.
They know too.
And but they leave it up to you to go do it. And then if you don't do the right thing, then they like you said, it's they don't want to send you the bill because they can't. But yet they'll come at you with a gun to arrest you and cage you. If you don't do the right thing. Off their
acts and policies and rules. But no, so even with that fundamental idea that, yes, why are they doing this dog and pony show? They have the technology. Literally, I mean, they can get with a couple of access codes from a certain IP addresses. I can get anything you need on this device. So you don't think that the CIA or the government, or how about the Department of Justice or the DOD, they can get stuff on you real quick.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because I can guarantee most, if not all, I would say most of the people who are either watching this or have watched, or have been a part of the Patreon, your subscribers, were all law-abiding, tax-paying, supporting our country. We're all law-abiding people. And so that's not the people we're describing or talking about. Unfortunately, it is the masses like you and I who get dumped on with the propaganda like nobody's business. And it's crazy. And this isn't the first time. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And you guys know it. You've been out here. You've seen what's happening. So it is funny in some aspects because it's so in your face. It's not so subversive anymore.
Yeah,
it's really
so
out there.
Covert. It's overt.
Yeah,
and,
I mean it's
there, folks. We're gonna keep this in mind. We might elaborate on a little more in the next. We're gonna go ahead and shut this down. We're a couple minutes away from scheduling issues. Yep. So give us about it's 11:30. We'll be back about 12, probably about 12:15. For those of you who can join back in, we had a great crowd. We appreciate it. This was recorded. This will probably most likely go out later tonight on the Patriot Hour in the premiere. Maybe I haven't done a premiere over there in a while. But other than that, we'll be back. Probably have Woodman. I just was communicating with him. It looks like he'll be ready by then. So dependent on him, shortly after 12, maybe a quarter after. Look for us. Again, I'm Mike. This was Ben. We appreciate you joining in. God bless. Godspeed each and every one of you worldwide. And any words there, Ben?
Yeah, no, you guys just super awesome to be in studio. Pretty excited and trying to keep on fighting the man in the mainstream media. Trying to create our own and give you guys the news we saw. Little tidbit. Pump up the volume. Great little.
Talk hard, folks. Talk hard, and never give up your freedoms. Keep fighting for your rights. Don't give nothing up for free, because when you typically give things up for free to idiots, it's really hard to get them back. So,
yep.
All right, we'll see you back here real soon.
Have a good one.